might be the reason why you're struggling to come up with those creative ideas when working on your design projects. Now, I'm not saying to ignore rules like maintaining alignment or visual hierarchy, but what I am saying is that if you're struggling with those creative ideas, maybe you should start breaking some rules. Let me give you a quick backstory. Being a graphic designer for the last 6 years, I've come across a lot of design rules. In my early years as a designer, I would ensure I stuck to every single rule. All my designs were symmetrical, there was plenty of white space, and the best way to describe my color combinations would probably be safe. At first, things went well. Referencing these design rules through my design projects helped me develop as a designer and nail the fundamentals of graphic design. But through the years, I noticed it started taking its toll. Sometimes following the rules too closely would suck all of the enjoyment out of my work, or I'd find myself struggling to think of creative ideas for a design project because I thought I had to stick to these rules. You could say that design rules were killing my creativity. And then one day I simply decided to start experimenting with my own passion projects and start breaking and bending some of these rules. I would see myself as a scientist who's trialing different chemicals together to see what works, or an artist flicking paint at their canvas to come up with a new creation. Now, I'm not saying I'm some sort of pioneer genius like Leonardo da Vinci, but having the freedom to express myself and my creativity on passion projects taught me one thing, and that's some design rules are made to be broken. So within this video, I'm going to be going over 4 common design rules and how they can be broken to unleash your creativity. But before we jump into rule number 1, I am going to leave a little caveat that design rules are there for a reason, and the majority of the time they should be stuck to, especially if you are new to the design world. This video is about creating an idea shift around design rules, and that it is okay to bend and break them on the occasion when done with intention. So with that being said, let's get straight into it. Rule number 1, visual hierarchy. So visual hierarchy is where you design with influence in the order you want your users to view them. You can use scale, contrast, imagery, etc. to achieve this. Here is a good example of visual hierarchy following this rule. We've got the main focus where your eyes are led first, which is the shoe photography. Second, the type, and thirdly, the call to action. But what if we broke this visual hierarchy rule and caused more of an impact? I've decided to break this rule because tension was missing within our design. Sometimes within your design and your elements, they need to fight against each other to really pull the viewer in. So if we now look at the redesign, you'll notice that the typography and the shoe are now fighting for that first place of focus, which creates that tension that we were after. Therefore, the visual hierarchy rule has been broken because there is now not one core focus. Those two elements are now the exact same scale, therefore working your audience that little bit extra of trying to figure out exactly where they want to look. Therefore, creating more attention and more focus to your design. When designing something, always design with the rule in mind first, and then see if you can break that rule, because then you are pushing the limits, testing your creativity, and really pushing that design rule to the edge. Rule number 2, white space. So white space, blank space, or negative space all refer to the space between or around each graphic element. So it is important that there is negative space left within your design, whether that's a logo design, social media graphic, poster, etc. Always make sure that there is negative space to let the design breathe. Otherwise, this can cause an overcrowd and make it really hard to know exactly what the focus is and where to look. So let's take a look at an example with this design rule in mind. Here's a DL size wine menu with a front and back. It was created intentionally with the white space to emphasize the bottle, which allows the core focus to be on the illustration. Having all of this white space puts you at ease, allows you to focus on the main point, and doesn't overcrowd you with information. Although this is really great, keeping to this design rule might make the design feel too spacious and too stripped back. So let's take a look at my redesign where I've scrapped the white space and allowed for my graphic elements to make more of an impact. left. I've done this because there was just too much space in the previous design that it felt like the menu was unfinished. We've now pushed the typography to the edge of the menu, even to the point that letters are now cut off, which now creates some tension that was missing in the previous design. You will still notice that there is white space available on the menu, which was the intention, but we are just using up more of that white space, especially on the wine menu typography, where in a design rule it should state that there should be white space available around this, but we've scrapped that because it has made more of an impact. As a viewer, you are more intrigued by this design and you probably want to turn the menu over to see more of that design, which was the intention. So with all that being said, try and push your design to its limit, bend some rules and see what creative outcome you can create. Rule number 3, alignment. So this refers to lining up text or graphics with one another. Now this can be a super important one, especially with layout design and typography. So if things aren't aligned and there is an imbalance, this will cause a distrust within your design. When things are aligned, it can give it that really nice and polished look. But it can sometimes feel too structured and actually take away from the message you are trying to achieve. So we're going to take a look at a double page spread about skateboarding. To the left is a text which has been aligned and feels very clean and balanced. Although the rules have been used perfectly, it hasn't got across the original message of excitement and playfulness. For example, skateboarding is fun, fast-paced, thrilling, etc. And at the moment, because everything is aligned, it's not quite fitting in with the storytelling. So this is where bending the rule actually comes in handy. So I have now redesigned the double page spread and taken into consideration the feel and the vibe of the story over the alignment. It now feels fast-paced and fits in perfectly with the story, yet the alignment has been broken. What's new about the design is now the typography fits in around the graphic elements, therefore working with one another, just like you are skating around the page. So in this instance, the design rule is less more important than the story that we are trying to tell. So when you are using these rules, make sure you're not destroying the story and the message that you're actually trying to get across. Last but not least, rule number 4, which is symmetry and repetition. So symmetry is often used to create a balance within the design, and this can be used throughout logo design, web design, and layout design. So using symmetry within design creates a sense of trust through balance and its predictability. Repetition can also create a really nice consistent look across the design. Although this keeps things nice and clean and precise, it can create a really robotic look. And if that's not what you're after, that is when the design rule can be broken. Let's take a look at our first example with symmetry and repetition in mind. This includes repetition of text boxes, photography, and symmetrical waves at the top and bottom, making it feel really balanced. This is clean and easy to navigate, which is what you want when viewing someone's website. But this rule can be broken to create a more messy, flowing feeling to match the core focus, which is around juices. Using more of this asymmetrical feel has really opened the design up to something more engaging and more fun for the viewer to read. It's still super easy to navigate, and it has lost that robotic feel which was in the previous design. The reason the rule was broken because this brand is about juice, which is flavoursome, fun, and playful, which is not what the symmetrical design before was showing us. So by getting rid of that symmetrical rule, it's now allowed me to create something more engaging for my viewer to look at and read. Although some people may feel more at ease with things being balanced, it means they're more relaxed, which means they might not be paying attention as much as you want them to. So creating a shift in the balance has now opened things up, made more of an impact, and makes your audience really focus on the design. So those are 4 common design rules within the design industry, but hopefully this video has given you an idea shift around breaking and bending some of the rules. But what I will do is leave a link in my description to some websites and some articles of some more design rules so you can acknowledge and learn them. But please do remember that it is okay to bend and break rules as long as you are doing them correctly and with the right intention. So I really hope you have enjoyed this video and it has given you something to think about. The main point to take away from this video that rules are important, but without realizing they may be killing your creativity. I also find when everyone follows the same rules, things can start to get a little boring and a little repetitive, which is why I try to break out of that box. If you have enjoyed this video, make sure to click that subscribe button. If you've liked this video, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you at the next video.